Hi everybody, I am logging on a little bit early just to make sure there's enough time for invitations to be sent out and make sure the connection and everything is working well. Today I'm so excited to talk to Jessica Schreiber, who is the co-founder and CEO of FABSCRAP, which is based in New York City, and they are expanding to Philadelphia. So well, I started a little bit early just to make sure that everything was on the up and up. So in a few moments, she'll be joining me, and then I have a lot of questions to ask her. And if you, as usual, have questions that you want to share or ask or comments, please feel free to comment, and I will do my best to check the comments as they come in and see if we can ask Jessica any questions as we have our conversation. But this is called Talking Trash with Ash, and it's a creative reuse professional conversation series. So I talk with people who work in creative reuse in all different forms, whether it's a huge nonprofit like FabScrap, or an individual who has an upcycling business, or is an upcycling artist who uses repurposed materials. So give me just a moment to see if I can locate FabScrap. Yeah, I'm a little early. I apologize. I just want to make sure when she's live, I will send, oh, there she is, okay. There we go. And in just a moment, my connection, hello!
Hi.
Hear me okay?
Let me see. Ooh, I don't know if that's because my phone is dirty. It's looking like cloudy on my end.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, take your time. I know you're busy, so.
Okay, that's a little better.
Oh yeah, that's definitely better. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me. For everybody who's joining right now, I just wanted to refresh. I'm going to be talking with Jessica Schreiber, who just joined me. She's the co-founder and CEO of FabScrap, located in New York City, but expanding also to Philadelphia. And I know you're a very busy person, so I appreciate so much you spending some time to talk to me and to our audience about all the awesome and wonderful things you're doing to help our planet.
Okay, I'm happy to.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Before I jump into like the nitty gritty of what you do, I like to ask every guest a couple little silly icebreaker questions. So the first one, and it goes, there's three. The first one would be, what's your favorite beverage?
Beverage.
Normally I ask people coffee or tea, but I figure some people don't like caffeine, so I'm opening it up to the gamut.
I do like a latte. I've been trying to cut back on caffeine. I was actually going to say a michelada, just taking it in a whole other direction.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
It's a cocktail. It's kind of like a Bloody Mary, but with beer.
Oh, that sounds like up my alley too. I love beer. Okay, well, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for telling me about it. I will check that out. Okay, and then I imagine, in your free time, if you are an avid reader or listen to podcasts or both, do you have like a favorite current book or podcast that you're listening or reading to, in your very probably small free time?
Yeah, I'm reading a couple things right now. One is Emergent Strategy. Hope I'm not saying her name wrong. Adrienne Marie Brown. I think I'm saying that right.
I'm sure she'll be fine with you.
And then All We Can Save is another like climate change focused book. And then most mornings I listen to a podcast called What a Day, which is just like a really nice short, like 25 minute like news recap. In a way that includes some like pop culture stuff that I enjoy, but also some political stuff where I feel up to date without like depressed from watching local news.
That's smart. I'm gonna go check that out because yeah, it's very easy to get sucked into news, but you also don't want to be completely disconnected. So,
Totally.
okay, great. And then my last question is, and this might be hard, since you work in the textile fashion industry, do you have a favorite piece of like a favorite type of piece of clothing? Like, are you like really into scarves or blouses or necklace, like jewelry? Like, is there shoes? I mean, some kind of thing that you're just like, if you go to a clothing store, you're like, I need to go check out this section.
Crew neck sweatshirts. I'm not a hoodie person, but crew neck sweatshirts, I have way too many. And I think that's because I went to school at Arizona State where it was too hot to wear them. So when I moved to New York, I was like, cold weather, fall, and started hoarding sweatshirts. So yeah, I have a lot of those.
Yeah, and they're comfy too. But yeah, no, that's definitely a different. I'm from Texas originally, and so everything was hot all the time, and then it's nice to have seasons.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so for a lot of people who are probably watching know, and I've been trying my best to give people a little preview of what FABSCRAP does, but could you talk a little bit about what FABSCRAP is, and also, and then I'll ask follow-up, but what it is, and then sort of like maybe the story of how you came up with this idea and developed, this nonprofit.
Yeah. So FabScrap is a nonprofit that works with the fashion industry to recycle and redistribute excess material from companies. So there's a lot of nonprofits that work in recycling or reusing old clothing, but there wasn't one that I could find that was doing that with the raw materials. So we pick up excess fabric, leathers, yarns, buttons, zippers, trims, and either recycle or redistribute and resell it. So we're working with about 600 fashion companies, and we've picked up nearly 1 million pounds of material and saved it from landfill and either recycled or redistributed it. And that comes from, prior to starting FabScrap, I was working at New York City's Department of Sanitation. I was overseeing the city's clothing and e-waste recycling programs. And so I got a really good picture of what clothing waste looks like on the post-consumer side, what residents and families and like individuals were throwing away. I was also working with all of the city's local nonprofits on collecting, sorting, redistributing it. So I had a really good idea of like what the challenges were and what infrastructure existed. And I started to hear from brands that they were looking for an outlet for their raw materials from the design process, which is what I described, like fabric and swatches and mock-up garments and cutting room scraps, but nothing like finished, not the like used pieces that we're so used to hearing about. And so there were about 30 brands that described this problem, and I pulled them all into a working group, and to their credit, very non-competitively, they shared information about what it was, how much they were throwing away, how often, and that kind of led to FabScrap and thinking, well, we could collect it, we could sort it, we could make it available. There's such a broad network of emerging designers and fashion students in New York City who could really use this raw material if they had easy access to it. And so FabScrap works in that way. We collect it from businesses, make it available to individuals, and we provide kind of that layer of anonymity so brands don't have to worry about like, here's a showcase of all of Theory's waste or all of Marc Jacobs waste. It's just FabScrap material, and then we'll talk about our contributing brands as a whole.
That's, I mean, such a brilliant idea. And so did you start to develop relationships with designers and with the big clothing companies through your previous job, or like how did you begin the process of collecting and building this? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, some of it when I started, they were like the people who were in the working groups. Those were the first brands that I reached out to when I was like, I have this idea to start it. They also just helped me kind of work out what it would look like as a business. So yeah, a lot of those brands who first reached out to me at Sanitation and were part of the working group, they were some of the first to sign up for service. But then once we started service, the growth was super organic. And I don't think that's because like I made this huge marketing splash or like what I think more what it was is anyone who worked in fashion, when they heard the idea, they immediately recognized the problem it was meant to solve. And so I think it speaks more to like the breadth of the problem than any kind of like genius on my part.
Well, no,
I think
the
it's
idea
just
itself. I mean, it's such a wonderful idea that no one had thought of, and you thought so. I mean, anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
it was surprising to me that no one had thought about it because it seemed like a pretty obvious need. So yeah, I mean, I think our growth, and now that we're like close to 600 brands signed up, has really been word of mouth. I think people recognizing the problem. There's also just been a shift in like consumers wanting brands to report on what they're doing in sustainability and CSR metrics. And so FABSCRAP is something that a brand can make the decision to do internally without affecting all of its external stores and marketing and sales.
Right.
And so it's a really easy first step that also gives them some metrics to speak to. So I think that shift in consumer concern and like consumers being more vocal about wanting to shop their values had a big impact on how quickly we grew too.
That's wonderful. And that's, part of what, we're trying to do here when we're talking with all these creative reuse professionals is to get more and more people to really think about when they purchase something, how wasteful is it? And, can I purchase from a company that's a little more eco-friendly or is actually trying to combat their, the imprint they're making.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's fantastic. So when did FABSCRAP open, like officially?
We got our nonprofit status in September 2016. Okay. So we just turned 5.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And it's huge, and you're already expanding to Philadelphia, and we'll get to that in a moment. So you have quite a team. So you have a co-founder who's also your creative director. I also took a quick look at your new team that's put in place in Philadelphia. We'll get to that. Since you had this idea and you were working with the focus groups and everything and making these relationships, and then you started to grow your team, what was that process like?
It kind of felt like a pretty gradual evolution. It started as like me and an intern. And even then I was still working a second job. So I was doing FABSCRAP full time, but working on the side to pay myself.
Right.
So we officially had staff, myself included, starting 2018. The beginning of 2018 was when we first started paying employees. And then just as our business grew, I was able to continue to bring on more people. And we kind of think of having 3 departments. There's the service where we're working with brands. There's the reuse and resource where we're redistributing fabric. And then there's this third department that's the community that we work with and the education that we do, all of our volunteers. And so it started with just finding the right person to be the lead of those 3 departments. And then, little things like it got too much for me to be the one running social media eventually. So we hired a social media person. So things like that, like as we could, we brought on more people.
Can you talk a little bit about, if you can, like in a nutshell, because I'm trying to keep an eye on the time. I want to make sure. I'd love to talk to you all day, but I know you're very busy. So
no, it's okay.
So we talked a little bit about how the big designers or big will donate their excess textiles that came from the design process. Can you talk just a little bit about that process, like how they donate to you? But probably more of the people who are watching right now are probably the folks that are like more emerging designers who might want to, purchase from you or volunteers. Like, so, So I just, if you could talk about it three branches a bit.
So for brands who sign up for the recycling service, they sign a service agreement, and then we send them FABSCRAP bags. The original ones are behind me, actually. They're like really large laundry bags, and brands can fill those with any scraps from their design office. The black bag is proprietary material, stuff that we cannot reuse or resell. And then if it's in the brown bag, we can reuse or resell it. And so it was a way for brands to also protect their IP. So when their bags are full, they just call us for pickup. There's a service fee associated. I really wanted the industry to fund the infrastructure. So the same way that they pay for trash pickup or paper recycling, they're paying for textile recycling. And we try and change that verb with them of like, you're not donating these unusable scraps of fabric.
Right.
You are recycling them. And then what we pick up for free is extra rolls of fabric, so usable yardage. And that we do take as a donation. There's no service fee for that because it's usable. We're able to resell it. And so, yeah, that's sort of the way that works. We pick up rolls and bags, and then it comes to our warehouse in Brooklyn. Volunteers help us sort it if it's non-proprietary. Volunteers help us sort it. We're really removing like paper, staples, stickers, and then sorting for spandex content because we can't recycle spandex. And as a thank you, we let volunteers take home 5 pounds of fabric for free. So we get tons of students, fashion students, who come and volunteer. Great way to learn about fabric, a little bit of trend forecasting, and then leave with some free material for your classes. So like win-win all around.
That's fantastic.
And then as we pull out reusable material, like rolls of fabric go directly to our reuse room or online store. From the bags, we pull out anything that's more than a yard, or specialty things like leather skins or sequins, or we'll get really nice appliques sometime, lots of buttons and zippers and cones of yarn. We pull out anything reusable, and then it's thrift store prices. So like designer quality, it's just lower quantities. And so everything is priced from $3 to $15 a yard. Like,
oh, wow. Wow.
A little bit higher on the online store just because that's where we tend to put more of our like specialty stuff. But we ship all over the US. So the online store grew a lot last year, and really kept us afloat though while we were completely closed. The online store is why we're still here today. So yeah, we try and redistribute as much as we can. Our goal is to give away as much as we sell. So both online and in store, we have a pay what you wish section where if you wish to pay $0, you can pay $0, but you can always like make $1 contribution. So really our goal is to like move material into the best possible end use.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I imagine there are quite a few creative reuse artists here that use fabric that will be very happy to go check out your online shop if they're not local to New York and Philadelphia.
Can I drop sorry for the angle change, guys, but I'm going to drop a discount code for anybody who might be shopping on our online store.
Thank you.
So yeah, if you are watching this, we have a discount code for when we do some educational interviews like this to get 10% off our online store.
Thank you so much. Because yeah, I actually was, I use fabric on trees. And so I was actually,
cool.
I make Christmas trees out of recycled vintage jewelry, but I use a fabric base. So I was checking out all the fabrics earlier. So yeah, and I'm not skilled at making clothing, but I do have a lot of contacts who are. So this will be awesome. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Can you talk a little bit about some of your educational programs?
Well, first and foremost, we try to say yes to any opportunity to speak, because I think the more people that understand that like textile waste is not just used clothing, but it happens on the business side too, so that businesses are held a little bit more accountable is really important. So we do a lot of like guest lecturing and speaking on panels, public events. So we really try and like get the word out. And then through the pandemic, we were trying to find a way to support some of our local creative professionals while also knowing that like people had fabric or were ordering fabric, weren't quite sure what to do with it. It was like a whole hobby resurgence. So we had some of our network teach a class. We were doing every other week. Now it's down to once a month. But once a month, we have a local creative professional teach a class, free to attend, or a $10 donation that helps us provide a stipend to that instructor and then teaches you some cool skill to do with materials. So we've done things like denim macrame plant hangers or leather wallets, natural dyeing. So like a full gamut. Those are all available on our website now still too. So that's been really popular and a cool way for us to get to know the makers in our community and support them, and then also give people some ideas for what to do with fabric.
Oh, that's wonderful. Really covering everything. That's amazing. Oh, wow. And also I noticed on your site that you have a partnership with a designer like is this the same program or is this something separate?
So that's separate. That the digital workshops are more for people to kind of skill share or learn new skills.
Right.
Our featured artist and featured designer is a maker who we feature for a quarter, basically for like a 3-month period in store and online to kind of give them a retail boost. So if it's a brand new designer, brand new artist, or even some more established ones just reaching a new audience, it's a good way to kind of get your inventory in front of the eyes of more people, showcase what can be done with creative reuse and upcycling. I'm really, really excited about our current featured designer, Inspired Threads. Yeah. They use the small pieces of fabric that have spandex, so we can't recycle them otherwise, and then color sort them. And then they're working on employing people with disabilities. And so across the spectrum, like all of their materials are made by designers with disabilities, and they're beautiful and really special, one-of-a-kind things. The quilts in particular can be pre-purchased with like a color selection of your choice, but they will also customize them with like a special t-shirt or like kids clothes if you want to make like a memento blanket. So they're doing really cool things while providing really unique employment to people who traditionally are kind of taken advantage of in a lot of employment systems.
I found out about them through your site and started following them. So thank you for featuring them. And I'm going to post some more in the coming weeks about, everybody I've found out about through you, through your site.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So thank you. So let's talk about real quick not however much time you want, but your exciting expansion. So you're opening soon. So let's,
this is perfect timing because we just went public last week. So I can actually share all of the details now. November 15th, we're opening our second location in Philadelphia. It will have all the same components. We'll be doing recycling service, but this extends our service all the way to DC and parts of New Jersey we couldn't hit before. We'll have volunteering and education and workshops and events. And then we'll also have a fabric store. And we're going to be located in the Bach building, which is this really great historic building in South Philadelphia. It used to be a school. And we're in the school's cafeteria. So this really nice, like wide open space. We're excited. So we're opening November 15th in Philadelphia.
And I actually was just in Philadelphia a couple weeks ago. I think after what you guys were up there, or down there, I should say. And my friend who actually really is great with sewing and clothing, she knew exactly, like I was showing her all about the pictures that you did post on Instagram and everything.
Yeah.
We didn't get a chance to go over to the building yet, but it's not a far drive for us. So we're planning on coming back to visit and checking everything out and definitely going to the store when we come to Philly next. But yeah, it is exciting because I have a community that I've been building in the DC area of people who are into creative reuse. And so it's good.
Nice.
Frequently they go up to, this is doable for us. Like New York City is a little
Yeah.
further, but Philadelphia,
Yeah.
we can make
Yeah.
it.
Well, side note, we're having some private launch parties, so I'll circle back with you after that. It'd be great to have you join.
Yeah, I would love. I mean, I'm just so excited for everything that you all are doing. And if you haven't yet checked out their Instagram page and Facebook, all of and their website, etc. It's pretty clear. Like I actually shared a little bit today with some folks about like just the video that you made with Urban, or is that how you pronounce it? But just sort of like the quick visual, couple minute visual of what you're doing, so people really understand. I mean, this interview too, I think hopefully will draw more attention.
Give some context. Yeah.
Right, give some context, because that's what I'm trying to say. But so people can get really excited because there's, I mean, not, you already are so busy, but like I'm always like, oh, you can keep expanding and save our planet. We need lots of help, and people need to know what to do, which leads me to how can people help you? So
yeah,
you have local communities in New York and Philadelphia that are going to be helping you. And so for those folks who are watching, how can they help you if they don't know yet? And then also, how can people who aren't necessarily in those communities help from afar?
Great. The volunteer sessions for New York and Philadelphia are open through the end of the year, so you can sign up to volunteer. We're still doing shopping by appointment only, at least through the end of the year, so you can come shop. Buying secondhand fabric is a great way to help us and also help the planet. Every 10 pounds you choose to upcycle has the same CO2 reducing equivalent as planting a tree. So buying secondhand is great. If you have a textile skill or I guess any kind of textile related art that you'd like to share, we're looking for digital workshop hosts, so definitely let us know. We're also looking for featured designers and featured artists for upcoming seasons, so if that's of interest. And then I would say we do a big fundraising program every year. It starts on Earth Day in April and ends in December. And it's individuals who are fundraising for fabric, for FABSCRAP, and for fabric, because whoever raises the most money gets free fabric for all of 2022.
Wow.
So we have 16 fundraisers who have signed up right now. Donating to one of their campaigns, it still goes directly to us, but it means that one of their projects gets like free fabric for all of next year. So it's a great way to support a fashion student or someone starting their line or somebody who's working on like a big textile art piece to get free fabric for a year and still support our work.
How can someone like me who's not necessarily, so for folks who maybe are not have textile skills, but they want to support, like they can look at clothing and or products and think, oh, that's beautiful. Like I want to support this upcoming designer, with their fundraising efforts. Or is there some kind of hashtag or something that makes it easy to find these folks who are participating?
Yeah, on the donate page of our website, if you scroll down, we have a little page and a little link to everyone who's fundraising for us. So you can like read through their stories. They always write a little blurb about what they're going to do with their fabric or why they're fundraising for FABSCRAP. So that's a really great place to start, I think, is just reading through their projects and contributing to one of their campaigns.
Great. Made me think of one other question, because you just concluded a silent auction. How was that? And I mean,
yeah.
I saw that you made a big, you had a really good result, is my point. But are you planning on doing that again in the future?
Yeah, we do silent auctions every year in September for our anniversary. So that was our 5-year anniversary. And we start soliciting prizes for that, like basically when it ends, we're already fundraising and soliciting for the next year. And so any donation of prizes, we've had people who donate a meditation session or like a home cooking. So it's not necessarily that it has to be something physical, like it can be an experience or a class. Definitely a lot of handmade stuff was in our silent auction this year. So next September, we'll do a digital silent auction. We do digital so that no matter where you are, you can bid. You get a text to bid. It's really, really easy, a little addictive because you get alerted if someone outbids you and it
Right.
becomes competitive. But yeah, we're already bringing in prizes for next year. So we have like a vintage Schwinn bike. We'll have a trip in next year's silent auction. So that's also a really, really great way to get involved or share. And the timing's good too because it's usually right before the holidays. So you could pick up some holiday gifts while also like supporting our work.
And I noticed so I did peruse all of the silent, like there was such a neat array of offerings. And that reminds me too, is you also offer things that are designer waste that's not, unused, that isn't fabric, like the buckles and like buttons. And so it's worth checking out. It's not just fabric that you offer on your regular online site.
Right. And then to that note, towards the end of the year, I think this year it starts on December 6th. We do 12 days of flash sales where we pull like some of our favorite stuff and we just do a flash sale each day. It's usually more discounted than in person or online, and something special that we've pulled from like our general inventory. So we do that via Instagram, Instagram stories. We do 12 days of flash sales in December.
Oh, great. I will be re-sharing that for sure and participating. And then the last thing that I thought of that I want to make sure folks watching, if you're local to Philadelphia and New York and you aren't aware of like the process of volunteering because your organization relies on so many volunteers, one thing I learned online is you don't have to know. I mean, you know where I'm going with this. So if you want to tell folks who might be like, this is really interesting, but I know nothing about fabric or clothing.
That's totally fine. And I am proof of that. My background is waste management. I don't know everything about fabric that I should know even now. So you do not have to be a fabric expert to sort what's coming in. Almost all of it is labeled. So we make the labels clear on your sorting table so you can kind of just match things up. And really, if you feel comfortable using scissors, you should feel comfortable volunteering. And for younger kids, we have color sorting tables. So we've had like elementary and up come and volunteer.
Oh, and you do programs with like corporations and other groups of folks.
Yeah, group volunteering for sure, an option where we can make it a private session and just host the group.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, great. Well, is there anything else you want to alert people watching?
No, this was so thorough in such a quick time. I'm pretty impressed. We like touched on all the major pieces.
I tried. Well, I really, because I know how busy you are, and I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share everything that you're doing. And the more I learn every day about FABSCRAP, the more I'm just very in awe. So thank you for being here and talking with me. And yeah, so
thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, hopefully in a few years I'll see you expanding to more cities. No pressure.
I saw someone had a question. I think that's Anna. Hi, Anna. I saw someone had a question about California, and that is where we're hoping to go. Right before COVID, we were in LA and looking at warehouses and starting to interview for potential team members there. COVID kind of closed the door on that for a little while, but we're really anxious to get back to those plans. So West Coast, we're coming at some point.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Thank you for everything you're doing to help our planet. I can't thank you enough, and your team and all the volunteers and stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time. So
yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.